Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. For today, I want to follow up on a few items about the Robotaxi service that we discussed on my previous video. There's been a lot of news and a lot of information coming out, and the excitement is definitely building. One of my viewers, Art Guajardo, had this video that he captured a couple nights ago downtown Austin, about 15 minutes from Giga-Texas, showing that testing without a driver is underway even at night on city streets. Of course, you see that Robotaxi sign on the door. I think that's what we're going to see when the service goes live. Now, there's a few things I want to clear up when it comes to the Robotaxi service, and it's that it is a service. It is not the Cybercab that you see here. In fact, the Robotaxi service could use any of the vehicles that Tesla manufactures, and that is because of the power of full self-driving. Now, we did get some additional information about that service, and it is that on the 22nd of June is the tentative date to try to roll that out here in Austin. Tesla says they're being very paranoid about safety, so the date could shift, but they want to make sure that this is rolled out safely and allow the public to be able to get the best possible impression about the Robotaxi. Also, we found out that on the 28th of June, from the end-of-line facility here, Tesla is going to try to do the first customer delivery autonomously from this location to the new customer. And that's going to be really awesome to see the vehicles starting to leave on their own from the outbound lot here and arrive at their customer house. So that's going to be pretty cool, and that's coming very soon. So that's a quick update and additional information about the Robotaxi service, and I hope that the clarifications on what that means is helpful and puts into context what is going on and what Tesla is trying to achieve. So for now, let's get the drone in the air, let's fly around and see what Giga-Texas looks like today. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning to a somewhat foggy Giga-Texas on this Friday the 13th. Gives it a little bit of an eerie look, but we're going to see sunshine poking throughout the flight. Now, we're starting on the far east side. At the bottom of the screen is that recycle yard. And they have a lot of those tires and wheels that I think are being collected for an employee discount event, which is held at least once a year. It's kind of a neat idea that they can give employees a chance to buy wheels and tires for a big discount. Now, we're here on the far southeast side, over at River Roads Extension on the bottom of the screen, and also the WW Glass Company's workshops and a temporary staging yard. We're going to fly over this pond and look at this staging yard with more of those green and white pipes on the right, some concrete pipe segments, and also some steel corrugated pipe for underground water management system. So that seems to be growing to some extent here. So that is probably related to all the work we're seeing on the berm on the west side. Now here I'm stopping. I wanted to show you where that concrete truck is coming out, another one going in. This is part of continued work inside to expand the production lines and also add more flooring and equipment and a lot of other things to increase the production capability. And this is in that far south part of the body in white section of the factory. Of course, they've added third floor mezzanine on the left-hand side as well, and we see temporary loading docks to all of the floors now as more equipment keeps getting moved inside. Now, as I come back here, the old temporary testing and calibration lot, that tent on the left with the superchargers is still there, but really haven't seen much activity here at all in the last several weeks. This material staging yard continues to get more items, especially some fabricated pipe segments that are being welded and modified just to the east in some of the workshops. Now, as we come across the robotic avenue, looking back to the factory, this gives you an idea of what the parking lot looks like on this early Friday morning. Of course, this is not a production day, but they do a lot of other work inside to prepare for the next week and also to wrap up some other items and continue with things like castings. As we come over to this part here, we see that trenching on the right with more electrical conduit to serve these trailers. Of course, these are going to be those new temporary offices for Tesla, which would be everything from new employee orientation, welcome center, the security and training, and some other items as well. And as we cross over Tesla Road, we'll see the old trailers that are being getting ready to be taken apart so that they can continue with the construction here. Now, there's a lot going on here. We see the Cortex 2 facility, but I want to stop here first and show you these electrical trucks next to these lines. They are getting ready to remove the old power lines and connect the new ones. Those will go up and power the new concrete batch plant on the north end, and by removing the other poles that allow them to continue that construction and the expansion of the electrical switch yard. Now, as we fly over the very full water detention pond and the fencing here for the Cortex 2 facility, wanted to show you from this side first that almost all of the roof decking are now in place. There's just a couple of openings. Looks like those may be for some equipment that'll be mounted on that roof. Still need to see the insulation of the roof weatherproof membrane installed, but that'll be done after the walls are and the parapet walls are installed. That is what is going on here. Now I'm going to bring the drone down low. We can see the steel studs on the ground getting ready for installation, but we can also see through the facility, and a lot of areas have some water from all the rains. Of course, there's no concrete yet, and that's going to be done after the walls are installed and the roof is mostly completed. Here we see more workers assembling the steel studs for the new walls, and then here where the blue wall panels are being installed, the first of the initial texturing material is being applied by the workers. So we'll come in close here. I'll give you a quick view of what is going on here. Eventually the textured surface will be finished, and then we'll see what color they end up staining the walls and see if it's going to be white like the main factory or more gray like we see with the die shop and battery cathode plant nearby. So I'm going to wrap around the south end and we'll fly around this part and we'll resume on the other side. We turn back to the building. This is a close-in view of the new doorways that are being installed, or in this case probably a receiving door with that frame, and we'll see that along the entire side of this building, and more preparation for the walls. And I'll turn in here. We can see the small Bobcat doing some work on the ground, and you can get a good sense looking inside what it looks like without all that concrete slab, and that'll be added very soon. Now I'm going to turn back to the die shop. The equipment that was delivered last time mostly has been moved into that large door on the right, and the wooden crates that we see here are part of what was delivered on my previous video. Now this is equipment that is associated with dies manufacturing, trimming, and milling, and that is a great sign that they're continuing to add more of those capabilities in the die shop itself. More work on the studs for the walls along this side of the Cortex 2 facility. Of course, a lot of the water and mud from the rains that have been going through the area. And as I turn back towards the battery cathode plant, we see the north end of the die shop, that external furnace, and a lot of the equipment that's being stored here for installation. More of the steel corrugated pipes on the left. And then at the cooling plant, notice that there is some frost at the bottom of the vaporizers, and we saw some servicing work going on my previous video here So it looks like they've got this system working at least partially today. I also noticed this delivery towards the die shop, this large door. And I'll bring the drone in, we'll zoom in, and you can kind of get a sense for what they are installing. Looks like this may be some sort of cabinetry maybe, or some other materials. Of course, the forklift is going to pick it up off the truck. It'll move it inside. We see a larger forklift entering into the building. And this is all generally in that area where we saw those large crates, the equipment that was inside brought in for assembly, and now that is being stored on the other side for recycling. I'm going to bring the drone up to a higher altitude. We'll turn back towards the battery cathode plant. Get a good view here of the east side, some of the warehouses and workshops that are here, and some of the other equipment. Of course, the steel corrugated pipe and other items at the bottom center of the screen. That'll be part of the water management system that's being added in to connect the construction site to the water filtration pond on the right-hand side of the screen. Also, a nice view here of the entire complex and how it is coming together with the Cortex 2 facility in the background. And then here is the crash testing facility. I'm just going to fly right over it. We saw some activity on my previous video with some testing that was going on. They're using something called the flying floor, which is a kind of a material that the cars sit on. It's pulled with a machinery that pulls it at a high speed towards a pole, and then they usually do side impact crash tests with that. So that seems to be what is going on today. More of the material here on the northeast side, and of course a lot of the green trees and grass because of all of the rain. You can tell that the sun's trying to poke through, but there's been clouds coming to and from the area today, so we'll see that changing throughout the flight. But this is a nice view looking back towards the main factory over Cortex 2 and how it looks with the roof almost completed. And on the west side, we can see the expansive area that's going to be for future development. Again, that full water detention pond. And then in this clearing directly ahead is where the electrical switchyard will be expanded to double its capacity. I did notice these two vehicles parked here. And I'm going to come in and get a closer view of it. The one on the right almost looks like something they call a pig, which is a truck that brings in the cement, which is part of the concrete manufacturing. And then we see another vehicle nearby. I'm not sure if they're doing some soil testing or something else. We see also more of the materials here in the middle of the screen. These are rebar segments. We saw them being delivered on my previous video. Now the crews are using it to fashion in the rebar support for that ground slab that's going to form the base of that underground vault. And they're also working near those excavations in the middle of the screen. And this is a good close-in view of what all this looks like. And those stairs cut into the berm to allow the workers to get in and out easily. And then on the upper right is a duplicate of what we're going to see when it's completed with those three trailers. The perimeter fence here is nearly complete around the Megapack 2. The light posts are installed. Most of the cabling has been installed throughout the entire system with the Megapacks, transformers, and that control station on the north end. And as I continue to move around, we see the fence posts and railing, still waiting for the fence material to be installed. On the left-hand side of the screen is where that is taking place. And this is what it looks like as they are doing that. So probably another couple of days and the fence around here will be completed. Then I expect to see some gravel mix put onto the ground, and then they can start doing the work to commission the Megapack. So I'm going to bring the drone up. We're going to fly over the power lines and the original Megapack site. And I want to show you the trucks that are loaded up with Model Ys and Cybertrucks. They're kind of queuing up right now, waiting for their time slots to move up to the Taylor railhead. And that's where they'll drop them off so they can be loaded into the rail cars for transport around the country. And also a nice view looking back to the north end of the main factory. A lot of castings in the racks here on the casting, handling, and sorting lot. And on the left-hand side, more of those paint stands for the old Model Y bumpers. One of the things that did catch my eye, and we're going to come in real close to see, is a rare opportunity to compare the size and design of a Cybertruck front casting and a Cybercab front casting next to each other. As I zoom in, you can see two Cybertruck castings stacked on each other, and then next to it, all the Cybercab castings. And it's very clear that the sizes and designs are extremely different. So I'm really glad to be able to show you that. And we also saw some rear subframes for the Cybercabs and a lot of Model Y castings in those rack mounts. Also a nice look at the base of the baghouse filtration plant, more of these kind of bales of recycled aluminum that will be melted back in, some of those large bags, the loading unit, more of this material and the old wheels that are being used for scrap and melting down the aluminum. And then here is a great view into this open section. You can see one of the furnaces or kilns in the background with those kind of cone-like items, and a really great view of how that operation looks on the inside. We also see some more of that aluminum tapping machine items that we saw being delivered on my a couple of videos ago. And now we're going to just fly back along the northeast side of casting over all of these rack mounts with Cybertruck castings on the bottom of the screen. And then here on the north end, we'll get a good view of these kind of mounts or rack mounts that are used to move and transport the castings and the trimmed biscuit items. And then here is the paint stands for the new Model Y bumpers and some of the other parts that do get painted. Along with that, some rack mounts for the bodies for the vehicles to be moved around the factory. As we come over towards the 4680 cell portion of the factory, we see some recycle bins that have been put around here. Most of those, since they are green, are used for materials. So we see that there's probably some more construction going on the inside. Here we see that grass matting that has been placed on the berms, and that's for erosion control. Some temporary air conditioning units have been moved in on the left-hand side of the screen. Another set of them here. And maybe that's because we're getting into summer, or maybe something has changed with the production of 4680s. As I maneuver the drone to look further to the south, here we see some more of these recycle bins. The blue ones are for recycling of the battery cans for the 4680s, and you can see one of them in the top left of the screen getting ready for recycling. We see some other materials and broken down pallets in the other green recycle bins. As we continue to fly to the south, we see that entrance with the concrete planters on the left-hand side of the screen, more of the grass matting here on the berm, and of course the continued work on this platform to bring in some more items. At this moment in time, the door was shut on the top and they were just positioning the crane. Later on, I did see more activity with items being brought up into that section. On the right-hand side of the screen, we see the excavation work continuing for the pipe segments that are being installed. Here's a great view into this trench box and the work that is underway. On the far south of this berm, we'll see a lot more activity later in the video. On the left-hand side of the screen is the ramps for the exit of the Model Ys, but it's a non-production day, so we don't really see much coming out of the factory right now. And with the flags, you can tell that the winds are almost dead calm, which makes it pretty easy to fly today, which is great, although it does keep some of the fog around, which we've seen around the site. So bring the drone up to the roof. I wanted just to give you a quick view of the current progress with more of the solar panels. Of course, this is like this small strip that is on the bottom of the Tesla emblem, and it's working its way to the north. Those kind of mounts that you see are Unirack mounts, and they are placed on the weatherproof membrane of the roof and then held down by bricks. So pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and cross over the central highway. We'll resume on this side, taking a look at the tents and the materials stored on this side of this central road. More of the materials here, including the Evapco fan units, base units, and pipe segments that are going to be used somewhere for cooling I'm not sure exactly where yet, continuing to watch that. Of course, more steel items that are being used inside the factory to increase the production capability with mezzanines and so forth. Did notice that there's two of these trucks with long trailers stored here in this parking lot right now. You also see all of the transport trucks on the north end parked and probably going to be getting ready to be busy this weekend as they continue the transport operations through the weekend and getting ready for production to begin again next week. And a nice view back to the main factory. So I'm going to fly the drone to the south, and we'll take a look at some of this materials up close, and then we'll resume a little bit farther near the outbound lot. Other things to look at here in the outbound lot today. First off, the Cybertrucks at the bottom center of the screen are the long-range wheel-wheel drives. We saw these being positioned on my previous video. There is a worker today doing some kind of adjustments on the tailgates, and you'll see him moving from one to the other. And as I continue to maneuver the drone, we see more Cybertrucks on the upper left and a lot more of the Model Ys between us and the end-of-line facility. I'll bring the drone down a little lower so we can get a good view of these Cybertrucks. Some people ask, how do I know these are long-range wheel-wheel drive? It's because the beds don't have the under cover storage. They don't have the switches for the tonneau cover, and they have shorter and smaller lights within the bed. I also noticed that the semi-truck was back today, and as I maneuver the drone around, we'll see that it is actually charging. It's connected to that mega charger, and they've been doing a lot of testing with the Cybertruck, both here at the factory and around the area. We've seen some photos from people showing this same truck driving around with trailers and some other items. But here's a great view of the mega charger and how it is connected in, getting that charge right now. Hopefully we're going to see more of those here at Giga-Texas soon. As we position to the east side of the end-of-line facility, see a line of Cybertrucks today. And again, this is not a production day, but they do work on catching up with unfinished business during the week on Fridays and then through the weekends. And then they prepare these to move to the outbound lot for shipping, and that continues all weekend. As I come back to the south, we see work at these tents and the superchargers. Of course, these again are getting the vehicles ready to move over to the outbound lot for transportation. And we see more of the Model Ys and Cybertrucks here in the outbound lot. As I kind of maneuver the drone around, get a good view of what this looks like today. And by the time I get back on Monday, pretty much all of these vehicles will have been shipped out. Fly over to this material staging yard, and something caught my eye, and that is movement of transformers. In addition to the one we see directly ahead being positioned and placed onto this semi-truck, I noticed that there are a lot of semi-trucks here. Some of them are queued up to receive the transformers. Others are already loaded up and getting ready to depart. And I noticed all of these are leaving the site. They are departing from Giga-Texas somewhere. They are driving up that central road up to Tesla Road, and then they're entering into the central highway. And from there, I'm not sure where they are going, but we have seen this before where a lot of these transformers are moved off site and then a new set of transformers takes their place, and then this cycle repeats. But this is a great look at the operations going on now. Several of the trucks loaded up here on the center bottom, and others on the left getting ready to be loaded up. And even more here waiting in line for their opportunity. So anyway, if you have any ideas, I'd be kind of curious what you think. Put it in the comment section of the video. Now, I also noticed there was some activity by this large white tent with transformers. So as we fly over the materials being stored and the power lines, also much of the steel items being stored here, I'm going to reposition the drone to give you a view of the transformers and the work that is underway. There are some trailers nearby, but I think that they were just repositioning these maybe for easy loading later on. But this is a good view of what is going on here with the transformers. People have asked me, what is the purpose of this tent? I'm not really sure. It could be for either staging or material handling that needs to be out of the rain, or maybe they're using it for workshops. More materials on the bottom of the screen have been delivered. You can see some of the rain water pooling on top because of all the rains that we've had. And I don't know if those are related to the transformers or something else, but they're in this general area. As we come down in lower, this is a nice look at the transformers, noticing that there's multiple different manufacturers and styles of them. I've seen at least 4 different transformers being stored here. And again, I'm not sure what the purpose is for each of them or where they are headed, but here's what it looks like as this one is being repositioned further towards the, I don't know, the roadway where that silver truck is. And with the workers, this gives you a great idea of the scale of these transformers. They are not small by any means. So I'm going to bring the drone up and we're going to reposition to resume the flight on the other side of the highway. What I mentioned before is there's a lot of work on this berm from the south heading to the north with excavations nearby. The caisson that you see in the left-hand side of the screen, auger drills at the bottom of the screen. We see trench boxes and piles that have been driven in on the left-hand side of the screen. Also here, more trench work and some of the pipes that have been laid out for installation. And as we continue to maneuver further to the north, we can see more of that work underway. Below the drone, a lot of the excavation, some of the concrete pipe segments on the left-hand side of the screen, and of course here, the green pipe getting ready for installation. And as I look to the north, you can see where that dirt road goes. That is going to lead us to where that other excavation work is at the flagpoles working their way to the south. As I maneuver here around, take a look at the window line, that drive path, the marked off drive pathway on the asphalt, and just generally what this looks like today. This whole west side on the asphalt seems like it's mostly cleaned off of equipment, and I'm not sure if they're going to use this for parking or some other purpose. Here at this new entrance, the stain work seems to be complete. The doors have yet to be installed, and we see that it is being used for unloading equipment and moved directly inside this south extension. Here's a nice view of the south end with the grass on the tiered sections and those 3 emergency exit tunnels and that walkway on that middle level. I did notice that there's work going on here on the southeast side near the windows, possibly some trim work. We see a yellow box or container has been brought in, and some other items are being stored on the ground next to the windows as well. And so this is all kind of a change from what we have seen, and that pipe looks like it may be to be installed on the inside for perhaps high temperature purposes. As I bring the drone up higher, this is a nice look at the cooling plant. One of the fan units has had its motor replaced. We saw that a few videos ago, and that's why that yellow crane is on the bottom of the screen. But it looks like that work may be completed. 5 of the 6 fan units are operational today, and the work on the ground. Looks like the asphalt's completed. They still have that pipe that is to drain off some of the water underneath the road and over to the water detention pond. But that's going to bring us to an end of the video today. A lot of great information at the beginning about the Robotaxi service, and of course, a lot of the details that we were able to see throughout the flight. I hope that you have a great weekend, and once again, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it, and it makes what I do here possible. And just a big thank you from me. Take care.